Hello Menno. So it's a pleasure to have you today on Crypto's podcast. We don't do a lot of podcasts in English, but I hope that the people that listen to us will understand everything that we say. But it's a real pleasure to have you today because you will explain us that you work at VanEck, which is one of the company that has an ETF Bitcoin spot. So this will be really interesting to discuss about this together. But to begin, maybe you can introduce yourself, explain us how did you discover crypto, what do you do at VanEck, and all that stuff.
Yeah, sure. So let me introduce myself. My name is Menno Martens. I work at VanEck as a crypto product manager. So I manage the European crypto products of VanEck. They're exchange-traded products which are like backed by cryptocurrencies, and you can trade them through your, traditional bank and broker and exchange. I got into contact with crypto for the first time in 2016 with Bitcoin and then with Ethereum, but it was mainly from like a trading aspect, like trying to, I was a student and I was trying to find ways how to make money, and this was one of the things that came up, and I found it really interesting, and I very quickly got into the technology side. So I started developing some applications, some smart contracts, and just I fell into the rabbit hole. Like it became more and more. Like ended up working as a crypto specialist at the central bank before I joined VanEck, where I worked on like educating people in the central bank, educating regulators.
European Central Bank?
Also the European Central Bank, yeah. Even worked a little bit on the digital euro.
Was it a success? Because
I would say partly yes. They really understood like the benefits of blockchain, the benefits of tokens, but the thing that was hard to convince them of is that people see value in Bitcoin, and they were like, "Oh, Bitcoin, why do you need it? You have the euro. What's wrong with the euro?" But yeah, that was the hard part, like trying to convince them of the value of cryptocurrency. Yeah.
So that was the first part of your job.
Yeah.
A bit of developing something in the crypto space, then working with bank. So a big gap.
Yeah.
And now you work in VanEck.
Yeah.
What do you do in this company?
Yeah, so I joined as a product manager. So I manage the products that we have in Europe, which means that I spend most of my day just reading a lot of research, white papers, making sure that the products that we have listed, that they are backed by good projects. And I need to be aware of any like technical updates or market updates that are happening to make sure that the products are functioning correctly, and that we also give the right information to our clients, to our investors. That's quite an important aspect, and part of it is like visiting events like this, and it helps me just like to kind of speed run through all the updates that happened in, for example, in NFTs, right? It's like there's a lot to learn during these conferences, and you get to network with a lot of people. And the reason why we're actually here, why VanEck is here, is because we're doing a self-custodial NFT fractionalization platform, which is kind of a product of us experimenting with NFTs since the past 2 years. We started with community NFTs, which was, just an interesting way to connect with people, with our clients, with community. And that sort of transformed into this marketplace where people can bring in like high value NFTs and fractionalize them and sell those individual keys, create new communities around those individual keys. And we see a lot of value in what NFTs could become in the future, not necessarily what they are now, but I think once regulation is in place in Europe, it's going to be way more interesting to see what people are going to build with, for example, the infrastructure that we are making for them.
So that's one of the products that you propose with VanEck. What are the others?
Yeah, the others, for example, we're doing a lot of research at tokenizing assets, tokenizing securities. Is something we see, of course, like the main point about crypto is to remove middlemen and like remove this inefficiencies in traditional finance. And at being a traditional financial asset manager, we understand that at some point, you know, crypto is meant to even remove our role to some extent, right? Like we're an asset manager and we're trying to see what our role would look like as a crypto native asset manager. And so tokenizing securities is one way how we're exploring kind of that field, what our role could be in that field. So it's all in all very interesting. Yeah.
And who are your investors, the people that buy VanEck products?
Yeah, the ones who buy our products, they're mostly you know, traditional investors. People who are uncomfortable with doing self-custody, holding private keys. Companies that for some legal reasons they can't hold cryptocurrencies in their balance sheet, and there's a lot of them. But also people who don't necessarily want to open an account at Binance to buy crypto because, well, I understand, like, so some crypto exchanges, they're a little bit shady. So we offer the solution that they can have a direct exposure to crypto, but we do all the self-custody. We do all the custody of the digital assets for them. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And I know that you work in the European side of VanEck, but obviously what happens in the US concerns you. There was this ETF spot. It was the main trend in the past months. How did you experience it in VanEck? What was the feeling of this event?
To be honest, it was a feeling of you know, great success because it's something we've been, like the journey of VanEck and with Bitcoin, it's been going on since like 2016 when we started doing like educational content mostly, and then in 2017 we filed for the first ETF, Bitcoin ETF, and since then all that we've been trying to do is like push this this narrative that at some point there's going to be like an ETF, and being the first in that space, I think that's a very valuable thing. It really shows that like we saw it happening before all the others, before all the other asset managers took the jump. Like I think that's just yeah, feeling of great success. Yeah.
And at present, not all the channels are open for investors with this ETF. At the moment, it's only institutional investors, but it will be soon open to all the retail investors via, I don't know how to pronounce it in English, but what we call CGP, like people who advise you on investment. So do you think that the impact of the ETF on the market will be even higher in the next months?
Yeah, it could be. Not just that it takes time for people to realize the value of Bitcoin, but also most people don't jump into a new product right at the start. They want to see like how it develops, if it works as expected. So I think we have a lot of companies sitting on the sidelines, kind of waiting to see how it's going to play out. And usually, if it has like a track record of like, let's say, longer than a year, and the product has been live for a while, and they see, well, it's still going well, only then I think you'll start to see more interest from like a broader audience.
And there's also a lot of discussion about the Ether ETF spots. What's your opinion about it? Do you think this will be approved, or maybe it will be more difficult?
Yeah, personally, I see no big difficulties to it. I think it's one of those things that will eventually happen. Yeah. I can't say what we are doing necessarily with that in that regard.
Okay.
But
I know that you are positioned on this ETF.
Absolutely, we are positioned.
Submitted.
Yeah, it's filed. Yeah, exactly. We're not the only ones. Like there, after us, there have been a few other asset managers as well filing for spot Ethereum ETFs. So I think that's just a starting point. Really, like we're going to see more interesting products come out. Like, for example, basket ETFs. It's not something anyone is thinking about right now, but I think it's going to happen at some point.
Yeah, it could be something really interesting.
We already have it in Europe. We have, for example, crypto leaders, which is like based on the top 10 cryptos, and like in one product you get exposure to not just one, not just two, but like a basket of assets, kind of making sure that you always have exposure to the top 10 cryptos.
And did you feel in Europe the impact of this ETF spot approval?
Yeah, I think it has gotten us a lot of media attention. You know, a lot of people have reached out to us since then. And what's interesting is that when they come to us, European investors, asking about the spot Bitcoin ETF in the US, and we tell them that we've had a Bitcoin ETN already since 2020. Yeah. Like, it works exactly the same as an ETF. It's just not called an ETF. So that's interesting that they find out that we have supposedly a product already available for so long, and they didn't know about it. So that's just interesting that the spot Bitcoin ETF created so much awareness that you know, even people that had no idea that we had these products available came to us.
Okay, that's really interesting. And maybe to conclude this interview, I will have a question for you, more personal one. What's your opinion, or maybe what's VanEck opinion about the crypto market at the moment and in the next months? I know that you don't only follow Bitcoin, you follow the trends. What are you looking for? What are the trends that you're looking at?
Yeah, so we publish a lot of research on our websites, like very high quality reports. And a few reports that we brought out in the past few months are about DeFi, about AI, and about tokenized real world assets. I think those three trends, they're going to be quite big for the next 1 or 2 years. I think for me personally, DeFi is the most interesting because the token models behind them like show actual benefit compared to like the legacy technology solutions available. So I think that's just very exciting that we come to a point where tokens really prove themselves useful in DeFi, in AI, like things like render, for example. I think they have a very interesting model, and it seems to be working out really well for them. And then also tokenized real world assets. It's very interesting. The only aspect that's missing there is like regulation. Again, a lot of companies sitting on the sidelines waiting for MiCA to come into effect, I think late June this year. And that's going to be interesting what people are going to develop once that becomes more available.
Okay, that's interesting. And I quite agree with you because we did recently a video on Cryptost about our top 5 trends for 2024 on the crypto market, and DeFi was one of them. So that's not a bad answer at all. This will be a very, very interesting narrative to follow in the next months. Well, I think that we will conclude it here. Thank you very much for your participation, for your time, for your answer. It's a pleasure to see a huge company as VanEck coming here in NFT Paris, and to have you in Cryptos. This is also a pleasure. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And enjoy the rest of the events.
Thanks.
Bye bye.
Thanks.